up this morning, listening to the excerpts, may have heard some of them yesterday, and they're wondering, why in the world would Donald Trump ever talk to Bob Woodward and just admit all the things that he admitted that are politically devastating? We have known Trump for well over a decade, and of course, if you go into Donald Trump's office, it's a sort of, at least it was before he went to the White House. It seemed to be a time capsule from 1987. Yep. And he looked upon Bob Woodward 60 Minutes with great reverence. And if he was going on 60 Minutes, then he had made it. That's the first part of this. The second part, of course, may surprise people, his supporters, who hear Donald Trump talk about fake news all the time. But I was talking to one of, I think, the most successful and best-known reporters in Washington, D.C., who said yesterday that this whole incident has shown that Donald Trump, far from hating the media, he's obsessed with the media. He loves the media. He reveres the media. He would love to be loved by the New York Times, by Bob Woodward. And you look at this book, and and Donald Trump keeps fretting to Bob Woodward, "Hey, you're not going to do a hit job, are you? You're not going to do a hit job on me, are you?" And it's actually his own supporters that he has contempt for. He has contempt actually for most people. In fact, even family members. But the media, he reveres.
He can't get enough of it.
Yeah, right. And so that's another part of this, Mika, that he wanted so badly to get a positive book out of Bob Woodward on his presidency. And finally, if you listen to those tapes, you'll notice there is a different tone and a different level of knowledge that Donald Trump exhibits, not just on this issue, but on other issues. Donald Trump has his own private personality, and then he has this personality that he plays when he puts on the suit and pretends to be reality TV president. It's two completely different people. We've seen it time and time again, and all of those quirks in Donald Trump's personality actually came together, Mika, yesterday. His obsession with Woodward, his obsession with CBS News, his obsession with 60 Minutes, his obsession with all the institutions that were dominant in the 1980s. And it came back to cause him military chaos when everybody in the White House and every one of his financial supporters would likely say, or most would say, "Talk to Bob Woodward on tape? Yeah. Are you out of your mind?"
Well, and
but he did.
We often wondered what the obsession was with us, but you hear in these tapes Donald Trump in his office in New York, surrounded by all that crap that people would give him, that he would show off, saying, "I know this person, I know that person." But it's almost a run-on train of thought, showing off how much he knows, talking to Woodward about how much he really knows, but not getting that Woodward is going to completely turn this around on him and reveal to the American people that the reason their lives have been devastated, the reason the economy is not serving them and they had to shut down their dry cleaning business and they had to close up their stores and they're broke and they're moving and their house is on sale and no one will buy it. The reason their life has completely collapsed is because this president didn't actually take the information that he was using to show off to Bob Woodward and create a plan that would have very simply, it would have been tough, It would have been tough to social distance more. It would have been tough to lock down more. It would have been tough to mobilize the Defense Production Act and get mass mobilization and creation of masks across the country and PPE across the country and testing across the country. It would have been tough, but it was totally doable. And he didn't do it.
You know, Willie, it's really something that his attempt to impress Bob Woodward is what really has undone him here. You know, people always say that stooges for Donald Trump are always playing to an audience of one. Well, Donald Trump, over these 18 taped sessions, Woodward saying sometimes he would start calling him at night, talking to him. That was Donald Trump speaking to an audience of one, and that audience was Bob Woodward, and he didn't realize the more he tried to impress Bob Woodward with his knowledge of the virus, the more damning it would be for him politically, because it would show just how much he was lying to 320 million Americans.
Yeah, it's so funny, this conversation about the psychology of Donald Trump, because so many people yesterday said, why on earth would he pick up the phone 18 times and talk to Bob Woodward? I didn't wonder for a second, for all the reasons you say, because Donald Trump is obsessed with status. And in his mind, and rightfully so, he believes Bob Woodward is the top of the journalistic field. He's the top author. He's obsessed with rankings, right? Donald Trump, and who's the top, who's the number one. Well, Bob Woodward is the guy, and Bob Woodward wanted to write a book about him. As Jonathan reported a little while ago, he didn't get to talk in the first book, so he was going to have his say in this next book. He couldn't get enough. There are reports that he was ecstatic that Bob Woodward wanted to talk to him. So he picked up the phone, and because it was Bob Woodward and because he's obsessed with that status, it almost didn't matter what he said or what came out in the book. He got a Bob Woodward book. And that goes so deeply, as you say, to who he is and where he comes from. It all came to a head on those phone calls, those 18 phone calls over the course of about 9 hours, where Donald Trump wanted to talk to Bob Woodward. He did, and this morning he's paying for it. I tell you one other thing, too. When you talk about that office at Trump Tower, in 1984, my dad was a writer for the New York Times, wrote a New York Times Magazine cover story about Donald Trump, and it's framed on the wall in that office. And again, it was the fact that the New York Times not only wrote a piece about him, he was a young guy back then, but put him on the cover of the New York Times Magazine that he loved. If he'd gone in and read the entire article, he might have a different impression of what it was. But like the Woodward book, it didn't matter. He got the New York Times Magazine cover, and now he's got his Bob Woodward book. So here we are.